Hey everyone, Dr. Kuniak here with a weekly video lecture. So I wanted to talk. There's been a lot of questions about the draft for the article proposal. So I actually had somebody asked if I could address it in my weekly video lecture. So I decided I would do that here. Um, and then I want to talk about the importance of data and data collection. So that would be that's my plan for tonight. So the draft article is literally a draft. The goal of one, maybe 2 pages, a paragraph explaining out what it is that you want to do for your full article proposal, and then an outline for the other sections. You could add a paragraph here or there within the outline, or like as a start for each section of the outline, or something like that. The purpose of it is really just to get you all we have an understanding that myself and the other faculty that teach this course have an understanding that writing an article proposal is probably a foreign concept to many of the folks that are taking this course. We all had to do it for our PhDs. Many of us do it even more frequently for some of our other projects. So we're aware of kind of how that's supposed to look, but we know you aren't. So the idea, so there is an understanding that an article proposal like this that will hopefully help you later on in the in your work in the field when you have to do proposals for programs that you're doing, for funding sources, for any number of things, that this will help to kind of guide you and scaffold some of that for you. But there's an understanding that this is a foreign concept. So rather than wait until the final assignment is due and then kind of make it a right or wrong scenario with grading that assignment and have a lot of feedback about, like, change this, I'll let you rewrite it, this or that, or can I rewrite it, or whatever the case may be. We can get that all out of the way, and instead you write a draft first, and the draft is really only worth a handful of points, just to ensure that people are doing it. So the goal really is to just kind of, this is a way for you ahead of time to start thinking about what you would like to propose as an article, and kind of how you see your your rationale, so your introduction to it, a literature review, just kind of citing what you're aware of out there in the literature. That can be an outline, just the stuff that you think you're going to cover, the variables that you think you're going to try to work with, and a little bit about your conclusions, where you think this could go if it was a real article, the discussion section that you would like to get to, and kind of talk about the where do we go from here, because we're not even worried about the methods or anything like that for this article proposal. And that's it. It's just so that you can start thinking about this ahead of time, work out some of the kinks in advance, turn it into me, and I can kind of give you some suggestions, or say, okay, good, you're on the right track. This sounds great, and we don't have to worry about that before the main assignment is due. That's the spirit of the assignment. That is the goal of this draft assignment. That's the structure of it. Just an introductory paragraph and an outline of the other sections. If you want to add an additional paragraph, that's fine. No citations are required. If you cite something, then cite it. Do an in-text citation, but you don't have to for this. I'm not expecting you to have done the full literature review yet. This is just an opportunity to get you kind of started before we get to the end. So hopefully that clears up folks' questions. If you have any more specific questions, certainly reach out to me about them. I want to talk about the importance of data. I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, because a seemingly unrelated set of circumstances kind of landed on my doorstep, and I realized that it relates a lot to both assessment and research methods. So because both have to do a little bit with data collection of some sort or another. And so I wanted to talk about this, and that is the importance of your data as a person. And so I hope that thinking about this, that my goal in sharing this with you is, first off, it's a little bit of like, be wary in real life sort of stuff, and also look for opportunities in real life. But then also be aware of the power differential that's at play when you're trying to take someone's data for your own research purposes. Like, some of what I'm going to share with you is potentially a little unethical. but the people who are doing it are not held to an ethical standard like we are, right, wrong, or otherwise. So anyway, this all came up for me because my wife and I were shopping around for new car and homeowners insurance. Told you it's complete. It sounds completely unrelated, but it's related. I promise. We'll get there real fast. Just we got our new policies in the mail for the start of the year. They were more expensive than we anticipated, so we decided to shop around a little bit. And so we got some quotes on new policies, and then realized that in many of the quotes, there was a. Oh, I should add, we had no strikes against our record for that increase in cost. Like, neither one of us were in any accidents. Nothing has happened to our house. Nothing is wrong, but there was still a significant increase because that's just where we're at. Inflation, I guess, but whatever. So we wanted to get some new quotes, and so in those quotes, some of the options for benefits or reduction in the quote related to data gathering methods. So you've probably seen these things on TV, on commercials and stuff like that. I know I have, and I thought to myself, yeah, I don't want to do that. I know some of my family members have, but it's the stuff that you can like put an app on your phone or put a little USB key in your car or whatever the case may be, and so then the device or the app tracks your speed, tracks you going from point A to point B, your commute to work, things like that, and it's supposed to be there to try to give you safe driving bonuses is the idea. They're telling you that they're going to gather your data and they're going to give you additional reductions in your insurance. And they may. I looked some of the information up online, and some people referenced that they did actually get some reductions in their insurance. My wife and I don't drive a lot. Both of us work from home for the most part. Running errands. Like, we could probably benefit from it because they would see that we don't do a lot of driving. But just in case one of us has a lead foot one day, as my wife put it, or just in case we take an extra long drive one day or something like that, that information could be used to raise our rates. And so that's what I want to talk about is data collection. Your data is valuable. Other people will make decisions based on your data. And so this can be as benign as I can remember a time where I was walking through the mall years ago, and someone wanted me to fill out a brief survey. And so I did. And they promised me a free movie ticket if I did that. And they gave me a movie ticket for the theater that's behind the mall. And that was it. They took some of my information, and I got a free movie pass, and I used it, and it was great. There's also opportunities to like participate in certain medical trials, and to, if you've experienced some sort of a health issue or something like that, you can participate in some research. That's valuable, and people will pay you for it. But there are risks that come with it. And they may be nothing, that may be totally above board, and you make an extra couple $100 and it's great. Or it may, put you in a bad spot. So it's important to understand that individuals are willing to pay you, or in the case of the insurance companies that I was just describing, not pay you or charge you extra based on the data that they gather from you. Another thing related, so as I was thinking about this, the other thing I noted is that it is possible for, like, as part of using these apps and devices in your car, those can be used in a civil suit. Like, if you get in an accident and the insurance company decides they don't want to cover you, they can use the data from that device to work in their benefit and get themselves off the hook and leave you high and dry. Also, they could use that if there's a loss, if you sue them for some reason, or if they have some reason to try to file suit against you, your data can be used in those cases. That's not to say, like, if you want to do something like that and it fits for you and you're not worried about it, like, there was a part of me that thought, I honestly, I haven't been in an accident in years. I don't drive much. Like I said, just around town here and everything like that. Maybe one trip a year. But it just seemed like too much of a risk. So that's something we wanted to avoid. My point being, please be very, very aware. The other thing, though, is if you're familiar with the DNA tests that are out there, 23andMe and the other ones, that's just the one that came to mind for me. People were using those pretty heavily for a number of years just to kind of find out what their ancestry is like and, who their relatives are and all that sort of stuff. What's interesting is the company that makes those tests, the companies that make those tests, what do they do with your data when they find out, all sorts of other information about your genetics? I am not a conspiracy theorist person. I am not one who buys into some of the more outlandish conspiracy theories out there. Um, but this is not a conspiracy theory. This is, when you take that test, you are releasing your own biomedical data out there to these companies. And they'll tell you what they're going to use it for, potentially, but they retain it. And then they can use that in the future. There was, I read an article at one point a few years ago about how this might be used to define medical coverage in the future, to gear certain pharmaceuticals towards certain aspects of the population. There's actually been a couple of sci-fi movies that have come out of this. I can think of one by M. Night Shyamalan, about the idea of people gathering your data and then making decisions based on that. So anyway, my point is, do what you do what works for you, but do it with open eyes. I can recall when I was gathering my dissertation data, and then again when I did a follow-up study post, I gave compensation for people providing me data. I gave a button that, for on your lanyard or whatever the case may be, just a simple pin. It's very common to give someone something in exchange for data collection, but the catch is our ethics say that that data collection has to be something that would not coerce the person to participate in your study. So you can't offer someone, you can offer them money. There are studies where people will offer you money. It's going to be something like 5, 10, $20 or something like that for your data, maybe more for more data. Like the biomedical studies that are out there may give you $100 or a couple $100 for your information. But it's meant to be that it should not be enough that it would coerce the person to participate in the study if they decided they felt uncomfortable with it. So the idea is that I should be able to walk away from that study, and forego the amount of money or the amount of compensation that you're giving me, if I felt like I didn't want to participate any further. So like, once it was part of my informed consent that once they started the data packet, they were allowed to keep the pin regardless of completing the study or not. The pin was just given to them for their volunteering. And then if they decided like partway through the study to put an X on the top of their packet and give it to me, they were done. And they kept the pin and they walked away. I had to take the loss. I've known people who will get a $500 Best Buy gift card or something like that. They'll get a grant and a small grant and put some of that money towards, they'll get $1,000 grant and they'll get a 500, a 250, whatever increment card to a store or a couple different stores, and then they'll put each participant's name in a raffle for them. $500 or $250 might be enough for someone to go through completing a packet, even if they felt uncomfortable with it. But it's not that you're giving, in this case, it's not that you're giving out a $500 gift card to every person. You're giving out a chance at a $500 gift card. So there is a strong chance that they won't get it. And so that was allowed by the IRB. But anyway, so like we're held to these standards to manage people's data and to be careful with what we're requesting so that we're not coercing people, but not everyone else is held to the same standards that we professionals are. So I just want you to consider, if you're ever in a position where you get an opportunity to participate in a study and you're offered compensation, consider that. Like I said, I've done studies and I've taken the compensation and I've been more than happy with the data that I gave was absolutely insignificant. It helped someone out. I got a free movie pass or, a $10 Amazon gift card or whatever the case may be. And it was great and it worked out perfectly. And then there's other data collection methods that I'm not as sure I'm comfortable with. And that's okay. It's a buyer beware, informed consent sort of process. But it just struck me how often this is still a thing. how often our data becomes valuable to someone, and then what we do with that. And I will stop here because I could get on the high horse in discussion of the fact that my phone picks up things that I say and then tailors my advertising to it. That's data collection too. And technically, it's data collection that I did not sign on for. I mean, I did because my end user license agreement for my phone or my other devices has information in there that if I'm going to use this device, they can gather some of my information and then use it. Um, but I don't like it. I don't always like it. Sometimes it's convenient, but that's what they're banking on. That's what the people gathering your data are banking on. So hopefully this was helpful. I hope that that gave you some information about the assignment and cleared up some confusion there. Hopefully this gets you thinking about data collection, and this goes for quantitative and qualitative designs. We're finishing up some chapter information on quantitative studies. We're going to move into qualitative studies soon. Compensation and data collection, is hand in hand regardless of methodology. So I just think it's useful information, and I wanted to make sure I shared it. So, questions, comments, concerns, please send them to me, and I will look forward to talking with you all online and seeing your drafts and seeing what you all plan to do for your article proposals and giving some feedback. Thanks. Have a good night.